So when the people at RANVOO initially reached out to me, offering to send me a neck air conditioner, I wasn't interested. One, I didn't really have an interest in wearing something around my neck, even if it promised to keep me cooler. And two, I didn't really think it would work. Now, if you've been around my channel any length of time, you know that I do a lot of hiking. And a lot of my hiking I do is during hot, humid times of the year along the US East Coast, and also in places like Hawaii, where it's very hot. But what changed my mind is I thought a little bit more about it, and I remembered those hikes, even as recently as last year, in the peak of summer, with just sweat dripping everywhere, and me feeling extremely hot, and no matter how much water I drank, I just could not get cool. So I decided to take a chance. I replied back to the folks at RANVOO, told them I would try this out, and if I liked it, I would make a video. So here we are. I'm making a video, and I'm actually using it right now. Right now it's about 85 degrees out here today. There's a little bit of a breeze, but it is kind of humid, and it is warm. Now it's not terribly hot. I've done hiking in 100-degree weather, and right now I'm just standing here talking to you. I'm not exerting myself. But this feels extremely good, even just standing here in 85 degrees. So what is this system, and how does it differ from something like a neck fan? First of all, the name of this product is the AICE LITE Max. It's not just a fan, it's actually a mini air conditioning unit. It does have cooling plates around it right here, and these come in contact with a key location on your neck. And what this does is cooling this part of your body actually helps keep the entirety of your body much cooler when you're exerting yourself or in a very hot climate. And it's what RANVOO calls the ice triangle circulation system. So what this does is it cools above and below your neck for full upper body coverage. And one of the things this system can help prevent is hyperthermia and heat exhaustion. Because one thing with a regular neck fan, it's circulating air, but it's just blowing around that hot air. Now, if you are sweating a lot, having that air blowing can at least help some. But you get to a certain point where the sweat kind of overwhelms the ability of the moving air to cool it, and that's where this makes a big difference. Just yesterday, I took this on a hike, and it wasn't particularly hot yesterday. It was in the 70s, but one thing about that hike is it was very steep. Very steep hikes generate a lot of body heat. And secondly, I was carrying a pack that weighed about 40 pounds. I had my 1-year-old on there, and in addition, I was carrying quite a bit of water and food in there for my wife and children. So walking up a steep slope with temperatures in the 70s and a heavy pack definitely warms me up quickly. And I tend to run warm anyway. I get warm easily, and when it's the middle of summer, I sweat a lot. So when I wore this yesterday, one thing I noticed is I was barely sweating at all. Usually halfway up this particular slope, even in the 70s, my head, I would have been dripping sweat already. But this, I had this on the AI mode, and what this did is this detected my body temperature, and it automatically adjusted this to keep me cool. This uses what's called the AICE Max 5.0 cooling technology. And what this does is when it's first powered on, it provides a 39-degree instant temperature drop in 1 second. Now that doesn't mean it drops your body temperature by 39 degrees, to be clear, but what this does is this drops the temperature in this area around your body. So when you first powered this on, if it was 90 degrees here, after that 1 second, and maybe you've owned or seen previous generations of this one improves upon those previous generations in a couple key ways. First of all, the wind speed is 55% greater versus previous generations. And this increased wind speed and other technology in here, it increases the cooling effectiveness by about 22% over the previous gen. And the metal surface on this, it's upgraded so it conducts better and it's larger than on the prior generations. And the nice thing is this isn't only for summertime. This is an all-season device. So what this can actually do is in the winter, you can actually use this for heat. I have not used it for heating yet, and I would still view the primary purpose of this being an air conditioner, but it is cool to note that if it's really cold out, you could wear this like underneath a scarf, something like that, and it could help keep you warm. So a couple other key specs I wanted to mention with this is the battery power in here. The battery is one of the things that really impressed me. It is a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and it does provide approximately 30 hours of usage per charge, but it only takes about 2 hours to fully recharge it, and it has a USB-C port on here. So if you're gonna be on a long adventure like I often am, you can just bring along a USB-C power bank. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, and you can just have this charging, say at nighttime when you're sleeping. You can have it charged and ready to go for the next day. And I think my other favorite thing about this is it has an app that you can use on your iPhone or Android. And with that app, you can change a bunch of modes on here. You can update firmware. When I first took it out of the box, there was a firmware update, so I updated the firmware. I love updating firmware on stuff. It's one of my hobbies. And you can switch between a bunch of different modes. You can do an AI cooling mode, you can do a cooling mode, you can do a quiet mode, you can do a low power mode, and of course there's the heating mode that I mentioned as well. And this technically has 0 to 100 precise levels. So this doesn't just have a couple different levels, there's a whole bunch of fine tuning you can do on here to get this perfect for you. But one of the other things that I thought about before I first took this hiking with me is this going to bounce around on my neck a lot, and is it going to be annoying to have there? So at first I knew it was there, but after a while of hiking, I didn't even really know it was there except for the cooling. In other words, it's not heavy. It is solid, but it's not heavy. But the weight of it is just right that it doesn't bounce up and down with each step. It's actually very comfortable, so it's not like rubbing against my neck. It stays in place quite well. So that definitely was a pleasant surprise for me. But then the other thing I thought about with this is, okay, other than hiking, how else would I use this? A couple others are cycling. When I'm riding my bike and doing a long ride or a very hot ride where I'm in the sun a lot, I'm definitely going to have this around my neck. That's going to be really nice because when I'm wearing a helmet, I get extra hot, and my helmet is black, which does not help on those bright sunny days. So this is gonna be really nice for that. In addition, if I'm at a sporting event and I'm sitting in the sun, like a baseball game for instance, I would want to have this on. I think that's going to be really nice for that type of environment, especially in those stadiums where the air can be stagnant and you don't really get a lot of breeze. That's going to be nice. And then one other use case I thought about is when I'm outside doing yard work, lawn mowing, stuff like that. I think this is going to be really nice to have in those use cases as well. So what about cons? Are there any cons that I have noticed after using this? There's only one con that I would like to point out, and it's really not a big deal, but the fan on here, it does make noise that's fairly close to your ears. It's not blowing in your ears, but when the fan is on and it's running at a higher speed, if you're in a group of people hiking and you're not really close to them, you may not be able to hear them unless they speak up a little bit. So when I was on my hike yesterday with my wife and kids, my wife was a little further back and I couldn't always hear her all of the time when this was cranking. But as long as she spoke up a little bit or when we were walking closer together, there were no problems. But the reason I don't consider that really a big deal is because you can adjust the fan on here, and the fan is not essential for this to cool you. This does generate cool air without you needing the fan roaring. And also, if you're on a hike or something outdoors where the wind's blowing anyway, that wind going past your ear is going to be much noisier than this is. So I've done hikes on very windy days sometimes, and like I can't even hear somebody if they're standing next to me. So this is nothing like that. But I would list it as a minor con that's worth knowing. And interestingly, one other benefit of this that I actually didn't realize would be there is this time of year has a lot of really bad gnats and biting flies. And when I have this on, those bugs leave me alone a lot better than they do without this. Now, I think part of that is because I sweat less and those bugs are attracted to sweat. But also I think that little bit cooler temperature surrounding here, I don't think those bugs like that as much, or they don't necessarily think I'm a living thing. I think they're looking for that living creature temperature. So whatever it is, this definitely makes a difference. On the hike yesterday, when we stopped for a snack and drink break, one thing I noticed is there weren't those bugs circling around me, but they were circling around my kids and my wife. So whatever it is about this that the bugs don't like, that is an additional benefit. And the people at RANVOO sent me an exclusive link that I'm going to add in the description below if you want to check this out.